Well, it's been a few days since Chicago Bears and Allen Robinson were unable to agree to a long-term deal. And like many of you, I am sad that Ryan Pace and Allen Robinson just couldn't figure out a deal to lock him up in Chicago for years to come. And I am anxious at a future without Allen Robinson because I love Allen Robinson. He is one of the GOATs. He's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and I would hate to see him let go. But how come the Chicago Bears and Allen Robinson failed to reach a deal? What was the real reason on why the Chicago Bears did not sign Allen Robinson? That's what we're going to discuss on today's video. But before we can do that, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, a big like, so that it can reach more Chicago Bears fans and we can grow this community. Secondly, make sure you watch till the end and comment what you thought about this video and hit bell notifications so you know whenever I post, because I'm coming up with a ton of content this week, and stay tuned for some very exciting content. Now, with that all out of the way, let's dive right into today's video. Now, last week, the Chicago Bears and Allen Robinson did not find a way to agree to a long-term deal, meaning Allen Robinson will play under the franchise tag this year, which would pay him an annual salary of $18 million. Now, why couldn't the Chicago Bears and Allen Robinson just find a way to reach a long-term deal? Well, that might be due to the fact of how the Chicago Bears view Allen Robinson and how Allen Robinson views himself. You see, the Bears view Allen Robinson as a receiver that they should pay $16 million a year towards, but Allen Robinson says, no, I should be paid $20 million a year. So that's kind of causing some rift between Ryan Pace and Allen Robinson and his agent. Now, paying Allen Robinson $20 million a year would put him around the likes of Keenan Allen and Amari Cooper, two receivers who, in my opinion, Allen Robinson is much better than, and we can tell that from the stats that he has put up here in Chicago. And Allen Robinson has caught for 399 targets for 255 receptions for 17 touchdowns. And you look at those numbers and you think, wow, I can't believe he did that, and think, wow, that's a receiver who should be paid around $20 million a year, considering the fact that he put up those numbers with quarterbacks in Chicago like Mitchell Trubisky and Nick Foles. And so Allen Robinson should definitely be paid around $20 million a year, in my opinion. Furthermore, Allen Robinson also had the third most contested catches in the NFL since 2018 with 39 contested catches. And that's just amazing. And that's just a receiver that you want to have on your team. But how come Ryan Pace wasn't able to get it done? Now, one of the reasons is COVID-19. And if you think about COVID-19, it has basically strapped the entire NFL with cap space. Cap space went down, and the Chicago Bears didn't really have a lot of cap to work with. So that's kind of some of the reasons on why the Chicago Bears weren't able to pay Allen Robinson $20 million a year. And next year, the Chicago Bears will have the 12th most cap space in the NFL. So they'll be able to pay Allen Robinson $20 million a year, and while also, finding contracts to pay guys like Bethel Nichols and Roquan Smith and others. So I definitely think it'll get done next year. So yeah, COVID-19 was an issue, but I think another reason on why the Chicago Bears waited to re-sign Allen Robinson was to see how he would do with Justin Fields. And in my opinion, Justin Fields and Allen Robinson might just be one of the best quarterback to wide receiver connections in the NFL, because Justin Fields is one of the most talented quarterbacks coming into the draft. He has a big arm and he can just launch up and throw it to Allen Robinson. And Justin Fields has never really played with a guy like Allen Robinson in his whole career. Sure, he's played with Chris Goodwin and others, but no one like Allen Robinson. Not a top 10 receiver like Allen Robinson. So Justin Fields has that. And also with Allen Robinson, he has never played with a quarterback like Justin Fields. I mean, Justin Fields is probably one of the most talented quarterback that Allen Robinson has ever played in his whole career, and that's just facts, And so I think that Justin Fields and Allen Robinson are gonna do so good together that it's gonna make it hard for Ryan Pace not to re-sign Allen Robinson. It's gonna make Ryan Pace get the deal done as soon as the season is over, because that is what a smart GM does, and it's my belief that Ryan Pace is a smart GM. And don't worry, guys. I know this is stressful. It's stressful for me to see Allen Robinson potentially leave the Bears, but it's not the end of the world. There are some pieces that we can do. We can go out there and sign Chris Goodwin. We can go out there and sign, if push comes to shove and Aaron Rodgers leaves Green Bay and Davante Adams and the Packers fail to negotiate a long-term deal and Davante Adams decides to see greener pastures, well, Davante Adams could be an option. Chris Olave could be an option next year. So don't think this is the end of the world. I'm sure Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy have a plan to find a way to lock down Allen Robinson for a long-term deal, and I'm sure Allen Robinson has the same thoughts too. So don't worry, we'll have to see how the season goes. And, with that all being said, guys, bear down and peace out.